everyone, welcome to Aberrant Behavior. It's your host, Christabel. I haven't recorded in a little while, even though my very last episode, I said I was going to try my best to record on a weekly basis. Let me just say that between the pandemic injuring my foot, I don't even know if I talked about it on the podcast. I've been learning how to skate at the beginning of this year. I decided to take up roller skating. Well, I fell and I broke my ankle. And that was just as I was getting ready to go back to work. Many of you may know that I've been off work for the last 4 months. It's going on 5 months now, where I took a self-imposed sabbatical, if you will, to recover from burnout from nursing. So I was finally at a place where I was just like, girl, I'm ready to make money again. I'm ready to take care of patients. I'm ready to get out of the house because my partner, who is also a nurse, is gone for work many days out of the week. And I was just becoming to be like really bored and I wanted some structure back into my life. So I was like, let's go back to work. That was I always felt that I would know when it was time to go back to work. And at the end of January, I was definitely feeling the pull back. But literally 2 days before I was due to start work, I fell in the hallway while I was practicing roller skating and I broke my ankle. Initially, I thought it was a sprain. So I sat home with it actually that night. But the next morning, I was like, let me just go to the ER to check it out. Because while I may be a nurse, I don't work in the ER. So I don't come across a lot of sprains and breaks and things like that. So I wasn't sure what I was looking at, and I was not about to play a guessing game. And so that next morning I went to the ER, and turns out that I really did indeed fracture my ankle. It's been a week since that happened, and so far I don't have to have surgery, but I go back to the orthopedic surgeon next week to see if that's still the case. So in the meantime, I'm hobbling, wearing my boot, doing my little wheel, knee roller, I don't know what you call it, knee bicycle thing, and just trying to make the best of it. So suffice it to say, I've had quite a bit going on and just a general lack of motivation when it comes to recording, which actually I accept. It makes me sad sometimes, but I accept that that's just what it is, because I want to be more consistent. I want to, not because I have to, but because I really love having these conversations. I really love recording. I really love talking about things, about just so many things that I'm going through or I've gone through, and how I've overcome those things, or how I'm navigating those things, or how I'm living with accepting the things that I cannot change, as it were. And I like sharing that because oftentimes in my life, I have felt very alone. I felt very alone and lonely as a child. And I spent a lot of time alone as a result, and read a lot of books. My head was always in a book. Or is it your nose in a book? I don't know sayings. Just FYI, a little tidbit about me. I will always butcher a saying, but I always was reading. So I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. In fact, one might say that I didn't have any because I grew up in church. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. So I had friends in my congregation, kids I associated with because they were not worldly kids. They were in the truth, as it were, which is what Jehovah's Witnesses call, being a Jehovah's Witness, being in the truth. So these kids were quote unquote, my friends, sure, but there wasn't any real intimacy there, mostly because like, you don't know who is going to tell on you. It's a moral obligation each Jehovah's Witness has to tell the elders if they know you are doing something that is sinful. The goal is to get the elders to intercede on your behalf and help you reconcile with God again. So let's say I'm thinking of making out with boys or girls or whatever. As a kid, I could definitely never tell my friends about it because I will probably end up in the elder room where we will have a conversation about it. So I wasn't allowed to make friends who were not in the truth. I wasn't allowed to associate with worldly friends beyond like school. And the friends I had in the congregation, it was just like a surface level friendship. So I grew up feeling really alone, really doubtful of myself, really shaky, often low self-esteem. And as a grown up, as I'm beginning to navigate out of it, I don't know, someone may look at my Instagram page and say, oh my gosh, her life looks so XYZ. I don't know how someone would see it, but they might think that, I have it all figured out, or I have loads of friends and I go on girls' vacation trips and, I have this posse who are my people or whatever, or that I'm super confident and I write well and I speak authoritatively. And I just want to demystify that. I certainly have come to understand and believe in my, what I have in my qualities. So I'm not ashamed to say I'm a good writer. I'm not ashamed to say I'm a good friend. I'm not ashamed to say, I live in a nice home, or none of that. So those things are true, or that I'm worthy, or I feel really confident. So those things are true, but they weren't always true, and they aren't true all the time, So recording this podcast, having this outlet serves as a way to just say, hey, if you're someone who have had these thoughts of loneliness or self-worth doubt, you're not alone. Don't let what you may see on my page or on other pages make you feel that you're alone in this. You're not alone. And that is a mission, a purpose that I've been called to, because that's the kind of stuff, hearing the stories of other people, that's the kind of stuff that helped build me up, that helped me grow and, grow in belief of myself. Hearing the stories of Maya Angelou, specifically reading her words over and over again, made me realize that, hey, we're all just flawed humans trying to make it out of this. We're just trying to live this life to the best of our ability. And it's okay to have doubts. It's okay not to know. And it fills me with joy to know that I could be that person for even just one other person. If I can be that for just one other person, I'm happy. So to not record oftentimes just makes me sad, because there's so much to talk about, so much I have going on in my head all the time. And I'm undiagnosed with something. I'm neurodivergent in some way. I still don't want to label it because I don't fully know. I just know that my brain works differently from how other people around me, their brain seems to work. So I'm constantly thinking. I have a lot of thoughts about things. I'm constantly analyzing. I'm constantly just having, my partner is so tired of me, I'm sure, because she is the complete opposite of me. She just doesn't like to talk a lot. But I'm always so what do you think? Okay, so that is a segue into this week's newest thought. So let me set the scene. The thought started because I decided to start a Patreon. So yay, announcement time. FYI, I started a Patreon and I'm going to link it so that you can subscribe if you feel inclined to. So when I was starting the Patreon, it was like we were having a lot of discussions about, my partner and I, how to price it, what's accessible, where should we start, how high should we go, having conversations around capitalism. What does it make me feel to feel like I need to be making a certain amount of money first from from writing or speaking or whatever before I can leave nursing? Doesn't mean that I'm too attached to money. So these are conversations I'm having, right? Not sure what the thoughts I'm having are saying about me. So let me give you a broader view of it. As a nurse, as a travel nurse specifically, I make a really good income that is sufficient for me. I work only 3 days a week. On that income, I'm able to take care of my needs, my want, my family's needs, my family wants, my family's wants, and other extended people. I'm able to contribute regularly to mutual aids that I support. I'm able to, monetarily be there for friends when the need arises. So working 3 days a week, I generally will make on average $1,000 a shift, a 12-hour shift. My income is generally $1,000. I mean, it depends on what you're looking at. It could seem like a lot to someone. It could seem like not a lot to someone. But for me, it's enough. It's always been enough for just my needs and, the people I mentioned before. So yeah, working 3 days a week, I'm able to make $3,000 a week. If I work more days a week, which there's always an opportunity to do that, I can make up to $8,000 a week. So in some instances with COVID, it's been up to $10,000 a week. So that is a lot of money. Let me say though that $10,000 a week is working 6 days a week. So it is a lot of work. So the more you work, the more money you make. So, and I've been talking, if you follow me on IG, you would see where I've been talking about how more and more nursing, while I love taking care of patients, nursing as a profession doesn't love me back, takes my free expression, my tattoos, my piercings, my hair color even, takes it very personal, takes it as though I am unprofessional. My voice, I feel my voice is stifled. I follow orders mainly. Mostly, that's what nursing is. So it's not even about following orders. It's about the fact that I have so much bubbling up in me all the time that I want to talk about. I need a creative outlet. So nursing has begun to feel very stifling to me. So I'm having conversations for the first time about what would it look like to not be a nurse anymore? What would it look like to make a living doing the things I love to do? What would it look like to make a living writing and speaking and podcasting, And and man, it's kind of difficult that the emotions that conversation brought up for me. Because when I was pricing Patreon, I started from $10 a month to $150 a month as for people to contribute to as they are able to, as they can afford to. That's why I tiered it that way. But even then, I still feel like it's not accessible to some people, right? I could go down to $5, and that may be a worthy choice. But just thinking of, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I could never make enough to live off of. And I could never make enough to live off of. And then I think that, then immediately following that thought is, are you doing it for the money, or is it just something you love? And the answer to that is, it's something I love, but I want to be able to make a living off of it. I want to be able to pay my rent. I want to be able to go on vacation. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to go visit my family. I want to be able to fly my mom to Brazil multiple times a year for medical care that she can't have access to in Ghana. So I want to do what I love, but I want to make money doing it. And these are just like immediate needs that me and my family has. And I think of my bigger goals, my bigger desires to build a mental health clinic in Ghana one day. I need money for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So when I think of, should I price Patreon $5? I mean, I definitely could. But then I was like, well, if someone truly cannot afford $10 a month to contribute to me writing and stuff like that, I'm hesitant to have them spend $5 a month on me, where like they don't have to. The podcast is free, is always, it's free. And I think it's always going to be free. I don't know the future, but the podcast is free. My Instagram is free. My blog is free. So, and I have a Venmo Cash App situation set up that if someone wanted to, give me $5, they could always do it that route without committing to $5 a month that they may not be able to afford. So, and also, I just want to tier it starting from $10. So I don't know. As I said, like, it's me like dumping my thought processes. And in case, I don't know if you're a business owner or someone who has attempted to go from, a lucrative career to working for yourself, if you've had these conversations. I don't see these conversations being had. Maybe I'm not in the right circle, or maybe people are having them privately, but I just kind of wanted to have it out loud. What does it look like to be able to support yourself doing what you love? And I now see why many people will stay at that job that they don't necessarily love, because it pays them enough to live life the way they have determined they want to live life. And so they stay at that job, and their quote unquote talent is wasted at that job, even though they could be serving the world doing this, writing or doing the thing that they're most good at. I don't, and I know that there are some people who are like, well, it's an artist. An artist struggles. An artist, that's where the whole concept of starving artist comes from. But honestly, frankly, if I'm just being frank, 100%, not trying to put up, appearances, I don't want to be a starving artist. I haven't starved in many, many, many years. And I don't want to start now. I just don't. And I don't know if it's because I grew up in literal poverty. Not that poverty is not like, if you feel you're poor, that's valid. But I'm saying I grew up with no water, no electricity, meals 2 times a day. I had to sell water on my head to help my mom pay for my brother's school fees. That is how I grew up. And I was certainly by no means the worst of them. Other neighbors around me had it even worse. A lot of people could not even send their children to school. I went to school. My brother went to school. But it was because, like, I was on my holidays, I'll help my mom in her business. She hustled really, really hard. Her whole life was working to take care of us, to make sure we got an education, even if we didn't have running water, even if we lived in a 1-bedroom, all 3 of us, and it was like uncompleted. That's how I grew up. So I know what it feels like to, like, quite literally not have anything and to starve, to be hungry, but know that you have to wait to eat. Because there was just like no food in the fridge waiting for you. You had to wait I had to wait for my mom to come home and cook dinner. Even if I would end up being hungry, most of the day after breakfast. That's just what it was. Right? So at this point in my life, almost 36, I don't want to starve. So when someone comes to me and asks me, like, what is your hourly rate? What do you charge? I want to interview you and I want to pay you for the interview. What do you charge? I'm going to go based off of what I get paid now, right? If the greedy medical complex deems to pay me $100 an hour, for instance, right, I'm certainly not going to charge less than that when someone asks me, what do you charge? It's going to be $100 or more. Because and again, it's not even about what are you worth. It's about what do you determine for yourself that you need to live the life you want to. And I feel like we each have a right to make that determination. Hey, maybe like no one is even, cares to have these conversations. Maybe it's just me overthinking things and people intuitively know what to do. I don't know what to do intuitively. So I have these conversations, but usually I have them in the privacy of my home with my partner. She gets to see like the doubts and the just like the fears I have. Will I make enough? Am I thinking about money too soon? I just started getting serious about this. Should I just do the work? And I will tell you that we reached a conclusion. I reached a conclusion that my only job is to face the work. I just need to do the work. And for me, that means I need to record podcasts. I need to write, If I want to publish a book, I need to get into the habit of writing on a daily basis. I need to produce content that I love, but not in a grind mentality. No, more like just like absorb yourself into these things that you love. Get good at it. Keep getting good at it. Your voice matters. Use your voice when you can. And most of the rest will work itself out. And so like that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing the stuff, I'm setting up the Patreon. I'm back recording. And yesterday I had my first ever speaking gig, and it was unpaid, but it was phenomenal to actually get to use my voice in that way. I spoke to a group of college students on the importance of mental health care in the Black community. it's just like something I'm super passionate about. I was nervous about it because I've actually never had to speak in a professional capacity. But it flowed. I was just in the groove. I was just going. And everyone told me later that they found it really beneficial and that they were activated to take action, and that was wonderful. And so, yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be doing the work. But also remembering that just because I want to be paid for my work, especially as a Black woman who gets paid cents on the dollar compared to the white man or the white woman, just because I want to be paid for my work does not mean that I am a capitalistic pig or whatever names I can come up for myself in my head in those moments. That's not what it means at all. It means that I just want what I want, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get it. And so I'm excited for the future. I'm always excited for the future, though. I'm a pretty optimistic person when I'm not being pessimistic. So I'm excited for what the future holds. And I have so much in me that I haven't fully put out there because, when I'm working full time as a nurse, it's a very emotionally challenging job. So while I put a decent amount of my heart in my writing and my podcast, I don't go full force. But having this Patreon page, knowing that people are spending money, really does motivate me to put in the work. And that's just the truth. Knowing that someone is paying me for my work makes me put in my best effort. I guess in the ideal utopian world, I would still put in just as much effort, even if I'm not being paid for it. But that's not who I am. I'm not. I am who I am, and that's just that's not who I am. Yeah, let me just say that. And I can't make an apology for it because it just is what it is. So, yeah, being paid for my work makes me work harder. And it's glorious when it's already something I love to do. Then it's perfect. And it's an equitable exchange of energy. So stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and publish this, and I will endeavor to talk to you again soon. In the meantime, be well, take care of yourself, and know that you are fabulous.